Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Brand Ambassador Angela Wolf here. Blah, blah. Say that fast 3 times. It's only Tuesday. I need more coffee. Hey, guess what we have going on? Today launches a really fun quilt challenge. So we're challenging some of the ambassadors, the educators, but Cindy Hogan has put this entire thing together. I'm so excited. So you will see a lot of different things from one quilt block. So if you've never been here before, say hi. Say where you're from. We are live streaming on Brother Sewing and Crafting, YouTube and Facebook pages. We're going to be showing sewing, ScanNCut, quilt blocks, you name it. Say hi, and we will be right back. Hello. Hey, Cindy. How are you?
Great. How are you, Angela?
I'm doing fantastic. I see the whole troops rolling in. Cindy, I'm so excited for this project. For those of you that don't know Cindy Hogan, she's been with Brother forever. We call her well, not really forever, but we say forever because she is our software guru along with a bunch of other things. But this is going to be so exciting. Cindy and I talked about this actually quite a few months ago, and Cindy's like, I'll put together a block. We're going to give it to everyone to try. And guess what? She even made some copies for you. So she's going to show you how this works. And then I'm going to give you a little preview of what some of the other people are doing throughout the next month. So you have to follow along. And we hope that you'll be sewing your own block and using the hashtags above because Brother loves to see what you're working on. So Cindy, I'm very excited about this.
Me too. I think it'll be lots of fun, and we can't wait to see what you guys actually do with the block. So, because what we're seeing is totally different than what I did. So, but it's all from the same block. So, very simple block to put together. And today we're going to walk you through that. This is your basic block. Now, you can do whatever color scheme you want. You do not have to do my pinks and purple, my pinks and blues and orange. You can pick whatever color scheme that you want. You could make all of these the same color, whatever floats your boat. There is a blog post on Brother Sews showing you how to do the basic block construction if you don't want to come back and watch this show again. But the files for you to use, if you don't have advanced quilt design software, we didn't want to leave you out. If you do, you can create the block yourself and see how you did against mine. But if you don't have it, we still want you to be able to participate to see how this works. So there's a blog post there. They forgot to put our link in for us, though. So I've taken care of that. It's on my website today, and I'm going to walk you through downloading it from that website. Okay?
So, by the way, Cindy, while you're doing that, I'm going to have you, because I see everyone rolling in. This is going to be awesome. I'm just going to download just one photo for them to see. Now, I gave a hint that Jerry's on Thursday. He took your quilt block and went way out. I never even thought about this. It has to do with tennis. And then Tina, who's coming up, I'm just going to bring this up so they can see the different, just an idea that every color can be different. So hold on a second. Hold yours back up.
Okay, basic block.
Okay, basic block. And I just had this. Where the heck did it go? Here we go. It always happens when you have like 6 screens up, right?
Yes.
Let me just share this because you aren't going to believe this. Look at that block and look at this block.
So where is it coming?
Here it is.
There we go.
What?
You would not know that's the same block.
No, you wouldn't have any clue. Look at this. So Tina, which you'll see this next Thursday, she took the block. She used single color. She added embroidery, a border, quilt sashing. I mean, you can do just about anything with this in any color. And I'll find Jerry's photo before the end here. But I mean, unbelievable. So remember, after Cindy shows you how this works, how to put it together, how to cut your squares on the ScanNCut. We have so much to show you today. Then we're going to take it to the next level. So Cindy, what would you like to show first?
Well, let's show how to download the project files first, and then we'll get into the software, and then we'll start the cutting it out and doing the construction.
All right, sounds good.
You have to go to my webpage. So it's cynthiasembroidery.com. Once you get there, this is the landing page. I got to find my mouse. There we are. you're going to touch the free designs button at the very top of the screen. So touch free designs. Right here it says Quilt Block Challenge Files. You simply click on that. It is going to be a zip file. Now I am using Chrome as my browser. So yours, you may have to do a save as. But there it is. You just press save and then you'll extract those on your computer. So if you want to extract them, go to your, wherever you saved it to. Mine went to my downloads folder. So let me come over here and show you how to extract. Right mouse click on it and say extract all. Tell it where you want it to go. So mine went back over here. So tell it where you want to go. And I'm going to leave it in the same folder just so you all can see it. Once you've done that, it will be extracted. And the BRF file, which is the native file format for Advanced Quilt Design software, is in there, as well as the FCM files, fancy cutting machine, fabric cutting machine files for you to be able to use to cut, an image, and a PDF file. So for each block, there's a 2-inch block, a 4-inch block, a 6-inch block, and an 8-inch block. Each of them have the directions, the actual file. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, you could make it 12 inches if you have the software. And the image file that shows you how it works is that you can actually play with in Canvas Workspace if you want. Or if you've got, what am I trying to say? What is that on our sewing machines? If you've got My Design Center on your sewing machine, you could use it in there. So yes. You can play with that and have fun all you want. Okay. So I'm going to close that out.
And you know, Cindy, the best part of this is not only you're going to show, though, for those that want to up their quilting game a little bit, this software from Brother is super easy to use. If you want to get the software, contact your Brother dealer. But it's super easy to use. You're going to show that. But at the same time, for those that are like, I've never done quilting before, you've given it, they can just download it and use it right from there. Easy to get started. But I'm going to warn you, it's a little addictive because I'm thinking I'm going to put it down my sleeve, down my jeans. I've got my garments all quilted up.
You know, I was thinking about doing it on a cuff, but I did not because I've left the garment sewing to you. I went a little bit on a project base and made mine a basket.
That's super cute. I love it.
So that's what mine's going to end up being. But that's, you can make it into anything you want to. That's the fun thing. Quilting, we think of it, you have to make this big old quilt, but you don't. You can make multiple things out of small blocks.
Out of multiple fabrics.
Mm-hmm. Out of anything you want. I mean, whatever's in your stash. You don't even have to go buy anything. This doesn't take that much fabric to make one block. And if you want to make multiples, it really doesn't take that much.
Sounds fantastic. All right, so where should we get started?
Let's start in the software. So I have Advanced Quilt Design software open on my desktop, and we are going to tell it we want to choose a new block. So we're going to go up to the application button here and choose new block. Since there are angles in this, because we have half square triangles, we need to tell it that we want to do triangular shapes instead of rectangles. So we want to do triangular. And we're not going to do up and we're not going to do down because that only allows us to. We want to go both directions. So we're going to go ahead and choose triangular. You can change your size, but the 8-inch works great for this because when you put it in a quilt, which is what we're going to do to just make it how you can, where you're going to combine things, it will resize it and recalculate it for each piece. So I'm just going to leave mine at 8 inches and go for that. There are multiple ways that you can start designing in here. Now, before I start this, I do want you all to know there are tons of built-in blocks over here on the right-hand side. You have flowers, you have classic, flying geese. There's tons of stuff in here. And shockingly, the block that I created was not in the software, so I've created it. Usually, there's something in here that you can use, and you can actually adjust them and adapt them and make them your own. So if you don't want to do your own blocks, you can certainly use the built-in ones. So let's get started on doing our block. The first thing I want to do is make that center square because that makes things a little bit easier for me. You can do piece select here or lasso piece. Depends on your method of madness. I'm going to do lasso piece. What I have to do when I lasso is I have to grab complete triangles. And if I get incomplete, it will leave them off. Wow, I got them all at the same time. You'll notice that a blue box appears around it if you grab them all at the same time. I want that to be one piece. That's the center of my block. So I'm going to tell it, I want you to unite. And then I'm going to assign it a color. So there we go. That was simple enough. Let's go lasso again. I'm going to do the up, downs, and sides. So we're going to lasso around that. Tell it we want to unite it and give it a color. So let's give that one a pink color. And if you didn't notice that this block, it doesn't matter which way you turn it. It's the same any way you go. And I'm simply going to unite again. And I'm going to grab that same pink color. And we'll go lasso this one. I'm going to mess up here in a second so that you all can see what to do if you happen to not grab everything at one time. I'm kind of liking these shades. I'm just kind of playing to see what we get. So we've got that lassoed. We're going to unite it. This top color bar are the colors that I've got used in my design. So that makes it easy. Once you've selected the first color, you can simply click on that top color bar. Now, your triangles are a little bit more challenging to grab, and you do have to pay attention. We want this half square triangle. So we're going to come and grab it, and I'm purposely going to miss a few here for you. Once you get the hang of this lasso trick, you'll love it. So we're going to, since I missed a few, you can see I've got wonkies going on here. Let's go and say piece select, and simply hold the control key down and click on the blocks that you missed. Once you've done that, you can press unite, and that is a complete piece now. So you have both ways of doing it. Let's give that a hot pink. And let's go lasso again. I just like the lasso because then I don't have to click on each individual block. And I missed one. Okay. Piece select, hold the control key down and grab it. Unite it. And we want the color white. I don't want to go scrolling through it, so I'm going to come and grab my thread palette here. And let's see where white is. There we go. That keeps me from having to wander around and find it. If you wanted to wander around and find it, if you use the left and right arrows on that bottom bar, but there's so many colors in here that I find it easier when it's not in that general palette range. I just go hunt for it. So we're going to go up to lasso again. We want to make sure we're going the correct orientation here, and we're going to lasso around that triangle. Oops, I missed two. No big deal. Two. Well, it does help if you use the control key and not the shift key. There we go. Unite them, and that needs to be that hot pink color. And I see the gang's all rolling in here today.
I see that.
Everybody.
Also, by the way, when you're finished, I saw Kelly's comment to hold that bag back up. We'll do that here shortly, Kelly. I just wanted to let you know I saw that, so don't worry about that. And while you're doing this, Kat just wants to know, what is the name of the software again?
Advanced Quilt Design Software.
And it's by Brother Kat, so you just contact your brother dealer and you can get that.
And truly, it is a simple block to create. So I would suggest, if you do have the software, go ahead and use this as your trial. Learn how to use the tool so that you, in an easy manner, so that it's not stressful. I forgot to add my colors there. So let's go in here and piece select, add that color. And I'm going to hold the control key down and grab those two pieces and say, okay, white. Now our block is done.
Wow. Very, very simple. And by the way, Cindy, for those that are new to this, or they're like, wait, slow down. You can, when we're finished with, we're live right now, but when we're finished with live, go back to Brother YouTube and you can just play and rewind and play and rewind. You can do it on Facebook too. I prefer YouTube, but that's just my choice.
I kind of thought this one looked like a flower. So that's why I went with the colors that I picked. But I mean, if you want to come in and say, all right, I want all of those to be pink instead, there you go. You just simply, you pick what you want it to be. I'm going to go back to that blue color. It's what you want it to be. So now let's save it to our block library. I'm going to go up to the application button and I'm going to say save to library. And we'll call this flower FBL, just so that I know what I've got.
So Cindy, while you have that up there, everyone take a close look at that block. And now look at this. Look at this. This is what Jerry's teaching on Thursday. That is, like I said, we've gone totally on different tracks here. Same block and back to Cindy's. Look at the block.
So, I mean, you can craft with it instead of sew with it. I was really shocked that Jerry went the crafting route. He's kind of like me doing free motion quilting yesterday. Jerry has hit the crafting route.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I just want to put that out there because there's so much. I cannot wait to see what everybody does with this.
So, I mean, that's hysterical. So let's go up and choose new quilt, because this is how you export your pieces. You want them to be in a quilt. If you're only doing one, you can do one across, one down, and press enter. If you want it to be a 6-inch block, put 6 inches in there in both. If you don't want any borders, you can take that down to 0. If you want borders, you can add it. If you want 2 across, you get to plan this the way you want to. So if you're going to make it into a project, let's say you wanted to do a table runner, you could certainly do a table runner. So here's my flower Facebook Live. I can come and take it and paste it in there. Let's say I want to just paste it to every one of them, every other one. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste to every other. That gives me the ability to add another block in with it if I wanted to. If mine, as I said, was just one single block, so I'm going to take us down to the single block. I did not put any sashings or borders on it, so we're going to take everything down to 0 for this. And we're now ready to export our project. So we go to our Tools tab, and there is a button called Export Project. Once you touch that, you get to choose what the project name is. We're going to call this Flower Facebook Live. FBL. There we go. Your seam allowance, you need to make sure that that says 1/4 inch. Otherwise, if you try to sew it at 1/4 inch and it's not 1/4 inch, then you will not have the correct seam allowance. The ones that you have in that you can download are all 1/4 inch seam allowances. If you want to increase the spacing, and I kind of suggest that, I did not do that on mine. And so when it comes to taking them off the mat, the pieces are really close together. So when you peel the little piece, when you get everything off and get the little stuff in, trying to get the little off, it's harder to get off. So if you'll give it 0.2 inches in between all of them, I think you'll be happier. We're going to call this 6 inches, just so that I know that this is a 6-inch block. I did change it to that, didn't I, Angela? You can save the quilt block. You can save both the quilt and the block to the library from this. You can save your cut files, which is what I've got here. If you had multiples in there, let's say we had done 3 blocks, you can choose a larger mat so that you can fit more things on your 12. You can do the 12 by 24 inch mat instead of the 12 by 12. Especially if you did like a 12-inch block, you may need that 12 by 24 inch block, 12 by 24 inch mat, easy for me to say today, instead of the 12 by 12. So if it tells you, gives you an error message saying it didn't export that file, it could be because you didn't choose a larger mat if you did a bigger item. So we can go ahead and say export. There's my export files, and those are ready to go. So now if you want to print out the instructions, if you go up to the application button again, and let's go in here to print and print preview. So you can see what you're going to get. When you go to the next page, it tells you how many pieces that you have, what your total number of pieces are. We only have 1 block, so we only have 13 pieces. it tells you how many blocks you've got. It tells you what your sashing is and what your borders are. Of course, we don't have that on this one, so we'll hit next page. These are the pieces. It shows you exactly what kind of pieces you have. These are the templates. So if you do not have a cutting machine, a Brother cutting machine that reads a FCM file, then you can actually print out the templates and cut along the dashed lines. The seam allowance is I can't say that today.
You need the coffee cup that I have, Cindy.
The seam allowance has automatically been added in there. So that is the space between the actual color and the dashed line. How's that for an answer? There we go. When we touch the next page, once again, these are your pieces that you would actually cut out. Then it tells you your fabric requirements, okay? And it gives you suggestions on how to cut. These are the pieces, and it shows you how they're going to go together.
I love that. And it has the directions with it, because I know that if there's say you went to something even more elaborate, you're sitting there thinking, okay, how do I sew this together? How much fabric do I need? Instead of just throwing out a whole bolt of fabric.
So my suggestion is you always take a row. So whether you choose to go a sideways row or a long ways row, block things off in rows. So I know I have to do my half square triangles. That's the first thing I need to sew together. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to do 2 half square triangles, for basically 2 sets of half square triangles for each side. And I'll attach those to the different colors. Then I'll sew that middle strip down together, and then another one of the sides. So you really are looking at it in a linear fashion and how you're wanting to go together. So we'll show you how that's going to go together here in just a second. All right. Any other questions that we've got so far?
Any other questions on the software before we move on? And you can still ask questions. And if you're rolling in later, don't forget that the Brother Social team always goes back to try to answer your questions. So you can even ask if you're not watching live. But let me bring your software back up one more time in case there's any questions on this. The software is so easy. And by the way, if you're new to the software, you might want to follow Cindy, because she has software shut-in every Tuesday afternoon on her Facebook page. Great live shows.
And Kelly, I use the thin fabric blade on this because it's faster. Okay, I use the fabric mat and the thin fabric blade. You can certainly use the rotary auto blade if you want to. I just chose to go this route just simply because it was quicker for me.
There you go.
Okay, so let's switch cameras, and I'm going to switch sounds as well so that you can hear me, so that I can hear you over there.
And keep your questions rolling in. Nice to see you again, Kelly, by the way. I haven't seen you in a little while. All right, so here we have, there you go. Looking good. I see a lot of pink there. My favorite color.
We do have a lot of pink in there. And as I said, this is what we're planning on making. Now, if you want to know, if you can add other colors. So yeah, I've been trying to decide if I like that one or not. I can't decide. I love this fabric, but I can't decide if I like it in the block. So I have actually cut my blue, my whites, my blues, my light pink, and that's extra. But I do need dark pink. Oh, I forgot to send my files over. Let's go back and do that before we do this, Angela.
Okay.
So let's send those files over.
Let me bring your screen back up.
Yep. Okay.
That's
so
kind of
I'm going to go to Canvas Workspace and send mine across. So we're just going to go File New. And I'm going to go up to the application button, and I'm going to choose Import from my computer. You can save these all to a USB and go directly from your USB, but I'm going to simply go from right here and send it wirelessly.
Just so nobody gets confused, you are not in that embroidery software anymore. You are in the ScanNCut software.
I'm in Canvas Workspace so that I can send wirelessly to my ScanNCut machine.
Okay, just to make sure everybody knew that. And that's free with your ScanNCut, by the way. So it's Canvas Workspace software.
And I'm going to tell you a little tip here. Your hot pink triangles and your whites are the exact same. So your triangles are the same and your rectangles are going to be the same size. So you really only have to open one of them up.
Okay.
Some other little tips and tricks. Oh, I wanted to bring the one up I just finished. So let's do new here because I gave it more spacing. And let's see here. Let me find it.
So Cindy, while you're doing this, anyone who goes to the blog post or goes to your website to download the files, they can actually, you've already done all of those steps. I know that's not proper English, but you have already finished all of the steps and they can take it and put it in their Canvas workspace. So if you don't have the software and you have a ScanNCut, you can start now and follow along. Just download what Cindy's already done for you.
Yeah, you could also just put them directly on a USB stick. So it's really up to you. You'll notice that there's 2 in here. That's telling me I need there's 4 pieces of this. I need 4 of those for white and 4 of those for pink for each of my blocks. So if you want to fill your page with this, let's say you're doing more than 2 blocks, we can group these together. So I drew around them, Control G, and then there's this button in the edit screen of Canvas Workspace where we can say fill the page. And it will fill it as many as it can get on there. And if you want to change the spacing between it, you can always come in here and say, I think I only want you distributed 1/4 of an inch apart. And that saves your space. So you save some fabric that way. So let's go ahead and say File, Export, Transfer, FCM, and I'm going to transfer that via the internet to my ScanNCut machine. Because we're going to actually cut pink triangles today because I've got all the rest of them cut, but that's what you would do that for each of the sections. Okay.
Sounds good. I got a couple questions for you. Lois wants to know, does it give directions to cut with strips and a rotary cutter too?
Yes, that's really the directions are cutting with your rotary cutter. You would cut those templates out.
Yeah, you saw those templates that were on there. Just cut those out and use those. And actually, what you're going to see, not tomorrow, but next Thursday, Tina will show you how to, if you have a ScanNCut and you don't want to cut all those pieces with the ScanNCut, she's going to show you how to draw those on the ScanNCut and turn them into templates. So there's a lot of options here. Kelly, yes, I know, darn work gets in the way, but we're glad you're here. All right, let's see, what else do we have? But I saw one more question. You could cut more at one time. Oh, yes, on a 24-inch mat. You sure can. I love those 24-inch mats. Are you kidding? It's like, get her all done.
If I'm using my 24-inch mat, I'm going to tell you I would be using my rotary auto blade because the fabric mat is what makes that fabric mat and the fabric blade go together. And it would lift too much on my standard 12 by 24. And we don't have a 12 by 24 fabric mat. So.
And Sandra, I don't know about Brazil, but I'll leave your question up here and maybe the Brother Social team can let you know. How's that?
I don't think so. I don't think the Latin American countries have adopted this one.
Okay. All right. But by the way, if you have the ScanNCut, you can still use this.
Yes. Okay. So here we go. I have stiffened my fabric with some starch so that it's really not so that it cuts well. It's so that when I peel it off my fabric mat, that it doesn't fray so badly. I'm on my fabric mat, so you can see I've got gold down here. This is my fabric mat, and we're going to lay our fabric down on top of the fabric mat. I can put it right in the middle. I can put it on the corner. You put it wherever you want to go. The only thing I do want to tell you is you want to make sure your grain of the fabric is going up and down and left and right. You don't want to cut this on the bias. That is really the only caution that I would do when you're quilting, because we're going to be sewing along a bias in many places and it would stretch, and that's not what you want. So now that we've got that, let's go over to our ScanNCut machine and place our fabric blade in. I'm using the fabric blade because I have fabric that does not have a backing on it, and I'm using my fabric mat. So we're going to load the mat in. Let's wake my machine back up. I'm going to press a load. You can tell I use my ScanNCut a lot. It was left on. Do I want to use what I was using last? And I did not. So we've loaded. Now let's come in here and go up close and personal. We're going to retrieve the data. If you had saved all of your files to your USB stick, you would choose from USB. If you sent it directly from Canvas Workspace, touch the computer icon, because that is your wireless transfer between the two. There's my file. So let's do a background scan so that we can see where we want it to go. So this is it's gonna scan it. You'll notice that if you look at my mat, there's times that I don't cut my fabric to meet it. As long as it hangs off on this end, not a big deal. So you'll notice sometimes I do that just so that I'll cut a big old long strip of fabric to not worry about it. All right, so you guys can't see that very well. Let me lighten my screen up in my settings. Now you can see that much better. Looks like I have plenty of fabric for that. So I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, touch OK. We're going to tell it what we want to do. So we're going to touch please select and then tell it to cut. I'm living on the wild side today. We're going to go ahead and just touch start because I have been cutting this fabric quite a bit. So I'm going to say it will work today. The first thing that go ahead.
Nothing. I was laughing.
The first thing that it does is test, find how deep the mat is. And then the second one it does is it tests how deep the fabric is. So that's how it's adjusting that blade. And this is much faster than if I used my rotary auto blade. Yes, I did starch my fabric.
So just a question, Cindy, because like when we talk about starching, some people say they soak their fabric in starch. Some just do it a little bit. Some like squish it. Any tips on how much starch you used on that?
It depends on your tolerance for fray, Angela. If you don't want it to fray at all, you're going to heavily, heavily starch it. If you don't care that you get a little bit of fray, then you can lightly starch it. I will say Mary Ellen's best press is not, excuse me, I shouldn't say a name. Some starches are not as heavy duty as others. So I can
that was not a brother product, so we are just going to throw a little disclaimer in there for that, but just use some starch and test it. How much fraying? Do more.
It really depends on your tolerance for fray. So there we go. Our squares are done. Our triangles are done. But you'll notice I'm going to have a little bit of fray. So I did not heavily starch my fabric. Oh, sorry. You can't see what I'm doing. There we go.
There we go.
I've got a little bit of fray, but not so much that I can't use my piece. So I didn't go massively on my starch this time around. My fabric is still nice to touch. Okay.
Okay.
And you'd simply take all of your pieces off of here. You can use your spatula if you want. I'm just going to use my fingernails here. If you don't have any fingernails, then use your spatula.
While we're looking at that, Kelly just had a question. It's a really good one too. If you use directional fabric, would it be better to load each triangle and each rectangle so that way they're all cut the same direction?
Yes. Or you don't have to load them each individually. Just don't group them and you can rotate them.
There you go.
So you don't necessarily have to load them individually. All right. So we have everything done. And to start your construction, you would start with 2 triangles, one of each color. Okay. So I've got that over at the machine ready for us to go. Let's go forth and multiply.
Let's go forth and multiply. Sounds like a bunch of ants or the mice in my basement. Okay. All right. No kidding. It's outside basement.
So we are at the machine. Let's see if I can get my head out of the way. We're going to go into the sewing mode. Doesn't matter if you have a luminaire or a different machine, you can do this project. Okay. I'm going to show you both ways. If you don't have a luminaire, you want your straight stitch center. Well, it depends on which foot you're going to use. Okay. You have 3 options. You have the J foot. If you're using the J foot, you're going to do your straight stitch right. If you have a luminaire, it's already set up for you under your Q stitches. So it's your piecing stitch Q-02. And that automatically adjusts your length and your width to match the J foot. That gives you a perfect 1/4 inch seam. okay? If you're using your 1/4 inch foot with a guide or your 1/4 inch foot, since it only has the center hole, you would use your straight stitch middle, okay? And this is a piecing stitch middle, so that's your Q-01. But if you don't have that, straight stitch middle. Okay, so just on your basic utility stitches, a straight stitch 1, and then you would change your length of your stitch down to 2, or whatever your preferred piecing stitch is. Does that make sense? We good so far?
That makes very good sense. Just make sure that if you're using that foot, though, that you have your needle in the middle position, or you might not be a happy camper.
You will not be a happy camper if you use that. I've used my J-foot on many of these shows, so today I am actually going to do the piecing stitch. I'm going to use my 1/4 inch foot for you. And this one's the 1/4 inch with a guide. There is a 1/4 inch without a guide, so let's go put this on the machine. I'm going to simply put it underneath here and lower my presser foot. Snapped into place, and we're ready to go. So here's my piece. I've got them together. So I've got all my steps set up here so that we can do this kind of quickly here today. I'm going to put my foot down. And guys, if you all want to tie off, you certainly can do that. Let's look at the front of your machine. On most of the Brother machines, if you touch the scissors, it will turn your back tack and your scissors on. This is a tie off in place stitch that I've selected. It just depends on what you want to do. And if you want to, you could put on your guideline, but I'm just simply going to go ahead and take off here. And I think you can tell why I chose this stitch. Also, if you're doing multiples, you can simply just get them. Oops, my thing is popped off there.
You know, I was looking at that and I thought, okay, maybe my glasses aren't working, but it sure looks like your bobbin cap is open.
My bobbin cap is definitely open there. Hold on. Let's lift our foot up. There we go. That was weird. You can chain piece. So if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. And so now you've got 2, which is what we need for this particular project, right? So I usually press.
Oh.
Wonder what happened there.
I don't know.
Oh, well, that
pressing was really good.
Wonder what happened there. Did it come unplugged?
That was something that had knocked you out.
Let's turn it back on. It came unplugged.
All right, so we'll wait for you to pop back in. I agree. Everybody's saying thank you for showing that. We love that. Here we go. You're back.
Yes, I'm back. So I normally press to the dark side on this particular one. I'm going to go ahead and cut them apart. Yeah, just kind of freak out there. And I'm going to tell you, I tend to do this first, just so that I don't have to do it later on both sides. But you can do whatever you want, guys. And then we're going to take this, open it up, and press your seams to the dark side. Press, don't iron. There you go. So once you've got those for the entire block, you're going to need 4 of them for a block. So I've actually got mine ready here to go. Y'all see those? Yes. We're going to put a blue to a pink. That's our first step. And we have to make sure it's oriented the correct way. All right. So how do I know it's oriented the correct way? Well, I want my pinks to go to the inside. Okay. So I want to make sure that I have that pink, the longest part of the pink here on this side. We're going to go face down. And get that all set up. Doesn't look like I'm on that edge. There we go. And take off again. Oh, fiddly-dee.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Fiddle-dee-dee.
At least you kept it clean.
I did.
In case you missed that, she just rethreaded. That's
yes,
what was
I did just rethread because I was stitching off the fabric itself, which when you go fast, it unthreads your needle. All right, so let's cut that. And then you're going to decide which direction you want to press it to. So here's one where I've already sewn that together, and we are pressing it to the pink. Okay. So you can see I've pressed that one to the pink, and I'm ready to sew my next piece to it. Following along so far?
Yeah, they could press though either way, couldn't they? Technically.
Yes. You can go either way. I did it this way because when I nested my seams, I had better luck this way.
Okay. There we go.
So now we're making sure that we're going the correct orientation because you want both of your pinks together. And I'm going to nest, basically make sure I'm even, Stephen, here. Have you heard that one in a while?
Nope.
And take off again. Now, the first time I did this, I'll tell you all, I sit here and I was like, okay, so I need to make sure that the other one goes the opposite way. Well, no, because they're the same block. It doesn't matter if I have one going one direction, the other going the other direction. You just simply rotate it and it will be the correct orientation. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
All right. I've already done this piece. If you're good with me going ahead, if not, I'll go grab one. For some reason, I didn't pull it over here with myself. So you want one long rectangle to this short square in the center, and then you're going to do the opposite side. That's what I'm going to sew right here. Right sides together. At least it didn't come unthreaded this time. I said that too soon.
I know. So I have the benefit of just like looking right at your needle. I'm like, yes, it did. Yes, it did.
All right, let me rethread here. You can't help it but it be live to do that. All right, let's see if I can get this on the edge of that fabric this time. There we go. These two I pressed to the center. So as I said, we were going to nest. So these two I pressed to the center. And these I pressed to the outside. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
because
sure does.
when we go to nest it, let's see here. I have these all ready to go. These are all nice and pressed and pretty. So when we go to nest, we're going to take this one and put it here. And if you look, you can nest those seams just perfectly together there. And I tend to clip this just so that I don't shift along the way. I'll clip that in both places. I love the little bitty clips. And we should be good to go. So I'm going to sew this one to my centerpiece. One side to the center. And I'm getting pretty good at sewing single-handed here. You got to admit that one.
Leaning over cameras. It's always fun when we do live shows.
I'm usually a two-handed sewer.
Okay, you're using the quilting foot. What's the technical name for it?
It is the 1/4 inch foot with a guide.
1/4 inch foot with the guide, okay?
I honestly usually use my J-foot, but if you are not used to quilting, having a 1/4-inch foot with a guide is a really nice little feature. Now, I personally opened these seams on this one. You guys can do it however you would like. I personally opened the seam because it went together better as a quilt for me that way, as a block when I was piecing it together. But you can see after I nested those seams, that's a perfect little seam there. So let's come and grab this other side. Now here's where you have to look at it. Don't put it this way. Make sure that you orient it in the correct direction. You all have seen me do that the wrong way before, trying to do it live. Once again, we're just going to nest those together, and then we're basically done with our block once we stitch this together. Okay, I got to put my finger here to make sure that it goes over that seam. There we go. When you get to the end, you might want to slow it down and stop it. There you go. So now we're done. And you'd press this seam open as well, and you have your block done, guys. This is a 6-incher.
How simple is that?
I'm going to open my seams up. There we go.
Very nice.
Seams are all nested. You're all ready to go, and it's ready to go into a project.
So now you can take one of those, you can take 2 of those, you can add a ton of those. Let me just show you again real quick while Cindy comes back to us. I'm just going to share what Tina did just to give you an idea. If you really want to go all out, look at this quilt. So she took the same square, added embroidery, added, this is all on the ScanNCut, which you'll see next week, added the quilt sashing. I mean, you can go all out. And I know Kelly wanted to see your little bag again, if you want to show that, Cindy.
Okay. So this is my basket. It has 4 blocks, and then the bottom is just a piece of fabric the same size.
Very easy. Very easy. Everybody's saying thank you. Very nice block. So in case you rolled in a little bit later, this is the deal. Cindy has put this on her website so you can download this. You can bring it to your ScanNCut. If you have the software, you can bring it into your software and work on it. You can actually design it yourself like she just showed. Change the colors up. You could change the colors up anyways. But she showed you all of the steps. So this is our Quilt to Fashion challenge. What's your award? Well, just self-satisfaction on sewing a quilt is what it is. But I would love to see or leave a comment if you're going to do this and where you're going to use this block. Are you going to use it something crazy like Jerry did? Are you going to use it on a garment like I'm going to do? Are you going to make a basket like Cindy's going to do? Or are you just going to make a mug rug? That's 1 block.
Yeah, a mug rug's 1 block. You could also use it as a pocket on a bag. There are some out of the box thought processes that you could also use. For instance, let's say you wanted to make a puzzle for a child. You could cut it out of felt and have heat transfer vinyls on a piece of fabric or adhesive vinyls on something and turn it into a puzzle for a child. So there's all kinds of different things that you could do.
Yeah, definitely. Josie, guess what Cindy's favorite color is? Same as mine, pink, but you won't believe it, Cindy. I'm not using pink for mine.
Actually, blue is my favorite color.
Oh, there you go. Blue. All right, everybody saying
if you didn't notice, my glasses are blue.
Now that I did not notice. Oh, I agree, Norma. I love mug rugs. So do you have any questions before I let Cindy go? And this is such a fun project. So I did put a link in the comments. You'll see it looked like it came from Brother, but I put my name at the end. That was to Cindy's blog. And that's where you can download some of these files. I also put a link to the Brother blog where you can see all of the instructions in case you missed that. And then that's where the pattern is, Norma. That's where the pattern is. Let me put your website up here, Cindy.
At the very beginning of this show, we walked you through where to go on that. So if you go back and watch the beginning of the show, you're going to go to my website and the free designs page.
You can see I've been scrolling on the bottom. Cynthia'sEmbroidery.com, brothersews.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click on blog, and that's where you can find the full blog post. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. So yeah, the step-by-step instructions on how to construct are there, but if you needed the video, that's why we went ahead and did this today. My block that I did with the basket was an 8-inch block. The one I'm gonna do live is gonna be 6 inches.
Yeah, and to save the date, let me see if I can pull the date up for that. So Thursday, we're gonna see Jerry with the tennis racket. Tuesday will be me. Cindy, I might have to just, like, if you're bored, you might have to just join. I'm going to be doing something with a garment. And then Tina is going to be showing that beautiful quilt, and she gives you all the details how to do that. And the following week is Emily, and she's going to be using it, I believe, as a pocket on something or creating fabric for a bag. And then we have, I'm going by memory here, but I want to say Kim Montanese is using this to make a really cool bag. So this is going to be just awesome. I'm so excited.
I can't wait to see what everybody does with it because we all have such different, unique personalities. And, you know, it shows in what we end up doing. So I went with the color scheme that I did simply because that's what we showed in the picture.
I love it. And so, by the way, if you do this, don't forget, you might be rolling in late. Hashtag right up above, Brother Sews, hashtag Brother ScanNCut. They will love to see what you're working on. Not only they, but we will too. I'm very excited about this, Cindy. And, you know, I think I might have to get some permission, but if I can get permission for one of our last live shows with this quilt challenge, maybe we'll come and bring your items up if you share photos. So I think that's going to be great. If I don't have permission to do it on Brother, we can do it on my page too. But I just think it's going to be awesome to see what you all come up with. I'd love to see the color combinations and what you do with it. So how long do you have? As long as you want. But really, this was our challenge for March. So you have 14 days, 3 hours, 26. No, I'm just teasing.
But we're going to continue into April. So you can come join us through April.
Yes. Very fun. All right, Cindy. So you have a live show this afternoon, correct? At 4:30?
I do.
Eastern
3:30 Central.
Awesome. I have a show tomorrow. I always forget what day it is, but today's Tuesday. Tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern. Last week, I showed them how to sew these awesome sleeves. I got something fun for tomorrow as well. And then Thursday, we have Jerry with the tennis. I'm very excited for that. That one was just so cool. I think I'm going to have to come up with something with that with the nephews with the Disney on it. Very fun. All right. So
that one was so out of the box. I was like, that was not what I was thinking he would do.
It was out of the box, but very fun. So leave your questions because Brother Social Team will be coming back. And Cindy, if you have questions for Cindy with software, you might want to check out her show today.
Yes. I mean, I take your all's questions. That's how we come up with That's how I come up with my shows is from your questions. Today's is planned. Heather and I have a fun treat that we're going to do today. And then I'm going to do a quilt pattern, a applique pattern through the ScanNCut.
So, that'll be fun. All right. Another cool project. All right, Cindy, this was awesome. I'm very excited. I hope you have a great day. And all of you watching, thank you so much. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe to Brother's YouTube channel. You'll never miss a live show. And if you're on Facebook, follow and like, and let them know that you love the show. And if you have a topic you'd like, be sure to leave that too. All right. Bye, Cindy. Bye everyone. Guys.